The secret to moving past the past is to think differently about the geometrics of growth. Just a few decades ago, the only geometric computer we possessed was between our ears. To calculate the geometry of a site that a planner drew on paper, the surveyor or engineer would start at an arbitrary location and assume a north and east coordinate. To compute the next corner, they would add up lot distances, use a protractor to figure out the angle, look up the sine of that angle in a logbook, then multiply that number by the distance. Add it to the north coordinate to get a new north coordinate, then repeat the same process using the cosine of that angle for the new east coordinate, all using the human brain and nothing else, without making a mistake for each and every lot and street corner. Because someone needed to check the calculations after submittal, additional restrictions were added. For curves, a straight segment was needed which was tangent or 90 degrees from that line to the center of the arc. To make it quicker and less painful to check plats, regulations required lots to be perpendicular or radial to the street right-of-way. A 100-lot subdivision along complex curves could add a month's worth of work compared to a simple grid design that could be calculated in a day or two. The past 4 decades, land subdividing software concentrated on automating processes of the past. It is the reason for stagnation of innovation. It's why a plat of today is not much different than one a few hundred years ago. Innovating the land development industry requires thinking completely different about the geometry of the past. The main consulting group that designs growth, architects, civil engineers, and surveyors, they're not in the business of creating a subdivision or urban redevelopment plan as much as they are in the surface generation business. Let me explain. The lines and curves on a site plan represent ownership limits and either existing or proposed man-made elements. Historically, we have interpreted these on a drawing in the form of lines and curves, using trigonometry that emerged in the 3rd century BC. If we change the thinking process away from creating line work of a subdivision, instead concentrating on the newly formed physical surfaces and their economic and environmental impact, it will influence the design process. Surface-based geometry replaces CAD layering system by defining what type of surfaces are being created. This includes physical buildings and the rooms within. With surfaces being defined, they are represented in colors or textures and further defined for their environmental impact. This coincides with economic impact. If you can track the precise amount of man-made surfaces in a proposal, you can measure its impact. The more man-made surfaces being generated, the more environmental and economic impact. Simple as that. It's like the gas mileage of a car's window sticker. You could judge how efficient or not a design is and make the necessary adjustments to reduce the impact. To make surface-based design possible, we developed a positional coordinate geometry which also eliminates mistakes leading to litigation. If during the design process we only think of the lot and street geometry and nothing else, everything you learned so far is an afterthought. However, if the lot and street geometry is the afterthought and instead each system, pedestrian connectivity, vehicular flow and connectivity, eliminating waste of infrastructure to gain usable space, placing homes to eliminate monotony while increasing views from within, showcasing a neighborhood along arterial streets, more sensible land use relationships, all matter more than just lot lines. Only then do we significantly improve the livability and value of development. This brings us to coving, the first reinvention of geometric relationships where efficiency is gained not by reducing existing regulatory minimums, but instead by increasing them. It was the development of advanced spatial software that we were able to discover coving in the first place. Coving provided the basis for all of the other advancements we were able to discover. With today's technology, we no longer need to be restricted by tangents nor perpendicular or radial lot lines. In other words, the restrictions of the past have been lifted by the gift of technology. The lack of technology limited innovation of growth. Today, it's the use of the wrong technological platforms that continue to stagnate the design of the world we live in. Automating methods of the past cannot create future advancements. Software does not think. You do. It cannot design. You can. It's time software released the power of the human mind and imagination and not be used as a tool to automate mindless subdivisions.